It's not working, Grace. We're gonna have to.
Good morning. It is March 18th, 2020, and today's lecture is for science, and we're basing this on minerals. Prior to going on to break, we had our first lesson on minerals. So if you remember the lesson plans that were, or the lessons that were written on the board before we left, one of the things that we're going to do on our first day is actually review what we learned so that we could refresh our ideas and you know, sort of get our brain cells stimulated again. So our learning objective from then and again from today is what is and what makes a mineral. You have this instructional video that will be available on my YouTube channel. You will have a what are minerals and identifying properties of mineral videos also sitting in that that you've got a YouTube link to. The first one is about 10 minutes long. The second one is 8 minutes long. So it's not too long. It's refreshing. Do you remember you have your mineral deposits worksheet? Hopefully you took home with you. If not, I have attached many documents to your Google Classroom, your rocks and minerals vocabulary list, the reading for igneous rocks, metamorphic rocks, sedimentary rocks, and minerals. So you need to review all of those in order to answer today's discussion question, which is already listed in Google Classroom. Please do not try to answer that question before reviewing the materials. Remember that spelling and grammar count. These are not discrete skills. You have to apply them to everything that you do. So the first thing we're going to talk about in terms of reviewing is that minerals and rocks are not the same thing. Minerals are not rocks. However, minerals are part of rocks. There are over 2,000 different types of minerals. When we identify minerals or characterize minerals, they have to meet 5 distinct criteria. Those criteria are, they have to be solid under normal circumstances. One of the things in the What Are Minerals video that I want you to take note of is water. So water can occur in 3 states. There is a question mark as to whether or not we can classify water as a mineral, because there are places on Earth where its naturally occurring state is ice. That is a solid. But as of right now, it is not technically classified as a mineral. The second thing is it has to be naturally occurring. We cannot create a mineral in a laboratory. So you might see something shiny and sparkly on a finger. It might be a diamond, or it might be something called cubic zirconium. If it's cubic zirconium, it's not a mineral. It's something that we create in a laboratory that simulates a diamond, but it is not a diamond. A diamond is a mineral. It's naturally occurring. The third thing is it must be inorganic. It cannot be something that is composed of or has once been living. One of the examples of that would be coal. We see coal. Coal is something that we use for energy everywhere. But coal, if you understand how coal is made from compressed, decomposed material. It was once living. Therefore, it doesn't matter how hard coal gets, it is not a mineral. The fourth criteria is it has to have a fixed chemical formula, and that chemical formula is unchanging. The fifth item is that the atoms for minerals have to be arranged in an orderly, fixed, and repeating pattern. In the What Are Minerals video, there's an excellent diagram of the tetrahedron, which is the mineral structure that occurs for that atomic arrangement. When you get to that point of the video, pause it and make sure that you put that diagram in your notes. It's really, really important that we're going to keep coming back to, for the rest of the year, just as we've already addressed this several times this year, how atoms are arranged. So I do want you to have that. Excuse me, I've got all my notes over here on a clipboard, so I'm just going to be occasionally changing paper so I don't miss anything. The other thing is that I want to point out, I really like this video. It gives some really, really good examples on how to help you understand the properties of minerals. Pay very close attention to what it talks about with these properties. It gives examples like mercury. Well, mercury in its naturally occurring state is a liquid. Therefore, it does not satisfy one of the definitions of a mineral. It is not a solid in naturally occurring state. Mercury cannot possibly be a mineral. It also talks about graphite and diamonds. Both graphite and diamonds are made of carbon. So one of these, diamonds, are one of the hardest known substances on Earth. We use it for special saw blades. We make diamond bits to drill for oil through very hard rock. And yet graphite, also made of carbon, is so soft that we use it for pencils. So what is it about these two things, both made from carbon, that make them different? And that comes down to the atomic arrangement. So we really, really want to focus on that. So atomic structure is very, very, very different. At the beginning of, again, going back to the week before spring break, we reviewed how mineral deposits occur. We reviewed the properties and the identifying characteristics of minerals. And then we completed an interactive notebook page that dealt with those. And I want to bring us back briefly to what these characteristics are: color, luster, hardness, density, fracture, cleavage, streak, as well as special characteristics like fluorescence. What color are they? Are they radioactive? Are they magnetic? We talked about where fluoride comes from, where, that we have gypsum that goes into particle board that we use, not particle board, but sheetrock that we use for making houses. So that hardness factor there, whether or not they chemically react to things. And then there's other things, ironically enough, like taste. So you really want to pay attention with these videos, and this relates back to our Check for Understanding discussion question for today on what it is that actually differentiates all of these minerals in order to create these varied characteristics. I also want to come back to something that we talk about repeatedly, and this is going to recur a lot for this small unit on rocks and rock cycles. We've been talking repeatedly throughout the year on what our learning objective is for the entire year. And it comes down to the fact that science is not a discrete subject. We might teach it discretely. We might teach biology separately from chemistry or from physics or from earth and space science. But all of this comes down to one simple thing, and that is atoms. So we talked repeatedly about that during space science, which was our last unit. We've talked about it with ocean science. And when we start to study rocks and minerals, we're going to come back to this again and again and again. Everything comes down to the underlying principle of how atoms are bonded and arranged. So as we talk about minerals and we think about the tetrahedron and we think about this specific arrangement and compositions and bondings of atoms, please keep that in mind, because we want to come back to this concept that none of this is discrete, that it is all interlinking. So that is basically just our review lesson for today. It's my lesson for you is about 10 minutes long. I just wanted to refresh your mind in terms of what we had studied on prior to the break. And all of today's work is, again, just a refresher of that. Tomorrow, however, we start something new. Tomorrow we're starting our rocks. We are going to begin with igneous and metamorphic rock. We're then going to move into sedimentary rock. When we get to sedimentary rock, we're going to take a little bit of extra time because we have to go back through and talk about things like weathering and erosion, compaction, things like that. We need to talk about how we evaluate the age of the earth using predominantly sedimentary rock. So we're going to talk about aging and dating of rocks. And then finally, we're going to pull this all together and study the rock cycle. When we've completed the rock cycle, and again, I'm expecting, given everything, we will probably be done with our rocks and minerals unit, which is just a small unit because we've already done so much with earth science, with plate tectonics and continental drift and volcanism and earthquakes and everything this year. I'm expecting we will be done with all of this by probably Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. There will be a test. I'm going to, unfortunately, because of the nature of working from home, a lot of what I'm going to do in terms of evaluating you for mastery is going to be based on your responses to the Check for Understanding questions. Please don't punt. Please don't guess. Please spend some time and provide really quality answers to that. If you don't write a full and complete answer for me, I'm not going to know. And at that point, we might have to pick up a telephone and have conversations for me to make sure that you do understand what we're talking about. A lot of the quizzes and the tests are going to be multiple choice, but I am going to have short answer sections. Again, I'm going to come back to this point of you are working on computers, folks, so I shouldn't see lowercase i's, I shouldn't see missing punctuation or misspelled words. You have access to spell checker, to grammar check, and it's going to be a lot easier for me if I'm not having to check your spelling when it's not necessary. It's at this point you've got the tools available to you to make sure that you're providing the kind of answers that are expected of a Ridgeline student. You're bright kids. I know you're bright kids. I've spent 3 quarters with you so far, and I've been nothing but impressed. So I'm going to continue to expect that. I am going to send out an email, put an announcement in Google Classroom later this morning to give you my first office hours. I am going to use Zoom, and what you'll get is a code and a number that you can dial into to do the interactive office hours. They're not mandatory. However, if you have any questions at all about the material, any concerns at all about how we get, how you're going to get your work evaluated, then absolutely come in, attend that meeting. I'm also going to, last night I had a meeting with Ms. Nielsen using Google Hangouts, and that was pretty cool. So if you have a video cam, Google Hangouts is kind of a nice way to do meetings because you can see each other, and that would be really nice. I'd like to see your happy, smiley faces. So that was an interesting thing to do also. And then of course there are other things called like GoToMeeting and Skype. It's just a matter of, we might have to schedule, depending upon the sizes, we might have to schedule separate meetings depending upon whose class you're in order to manage questions. So I probably will set up 3 office hours, or office 30 minutes, because at that point, we want to keep you directed and focused. And then I will send you out the codes for each classroom. If you can't make the one that's for your classroom, then by all means log into whatever one that you can make. And if you can't make any of them for some reason, then shoot me a note and we'll make arrangements for me to speak with you separately, okay? Absolutely, totally and completely available to you. We want to make sure that everything continues as normal. Last night, I read an article to say that there may be an emergency bill passed today by our state legislature, which will close schools through to the end of April. So we might be doing this for a few weeks. And the key thing here is not the inconvenience. I know this is the first time even my generation has lived through something like this, but certainly your fellow Americans, grandparents, great-grandparents have lived through world wars and the economic depression and a lot of hardship, and the human spirit triumphs. So I want you to, take a deep breath, remain calm. We're all going to get through this. And in the end, we're going to be better students for it. I am learning a lot about online platforms. I'm setting up an account for us in a classroom in PBS Learning. It's fantastic. They've got a lot of really interactive things. So it's kind of like little games that you can play to learn from. So that's really, really cool. And we've got our Discovery Education account. Everybody has a login there. I do want to encourage you. I've seen the same 20 kids on Google Classroom the last couple of days, and there's about 40 of you missing. So I'm going to start making phone calls home to parents if I'm not seeing their students logging in. If you do not have a computer that you can work from regularly, contact the school. They have Chromebooks that they're willing to check out to families. They're also contact the school if you don't have internet access. There's a number that you can dial into to get free internet access during school hours. I don't know much about that, but I do know that it is available. I've seen a couple of online things, and I believe that the Ridgeline administration is aware of what you can do to get free internet during school hours. It's not free internet for 24 hours, but it is available. I know libraries are closed, so you can't go there. I am going to do everything I can to give you as much information as I can. I want everyone to know that I think about you and I miss you, and I'm hoping that we can do some online meetings where I can actually see your cheerful faces. All right? All right, so I'm going to sign off for today. Tomorrow's lecture will be about igneous and metamorphic rock. It will be longer. I will probably do it in 2 phases just because I'm videoing myself off my phone and it takes quite a long time to load large video files. I'm probably going to buy a piece of software that I can install on my personal computer that will allow me to video using my computer and create larger files that I can compress and upload a lot easier. And then I want to give a shout out to all the other Ridgeline teachers who are working really hard. We're all sharing resources and helping one another. So if you've got siblings that are struggling with anything, have your parents contact me and I can help them as much as I can. All right? Thinking of you. Stay cool. Hey, go outside, shoot some baskets, walk the dog, get some fresh air today. Make sure you take breaks. Use your school stomach. The refrigerator doesn't need to be opened every 5 minutes. You've gone times. I also want to give you a hint or some advice for working from home. It's really good if you set yourself up, just like you do for homework, set yourself up with a specific area to work from. Minimize distractions, don't have the TV on, and just dedicate a couple of hours a day to doing schoolwork. Once you've done that, mission accomplished, enjoy the rest of your day. All right, bye.